NFL data.
And it was 400.
And make sure.
400.
Oh, sorry, 400.
I was like, 5 million ain't shit, though.
I would have been like, damn, it's like going out there pretty.
Whoa. I was just like, what the fuck? 5 million is like, they just had to, that's the amount of money it probably cost for them just meat.
10 itself. To have the meeting was only $5 million.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode, what's this now, 5? Episode 5 of
Hey, where's episode 3?
Where's episode 3 and 4?
They clearly know where that is. It's up on our site next to 5 where it will be posted. So, it's episode 5 of Into the Foxhole. We're here to tell you guys about our reactions to the Xbox event and then everything thereafter. But starting now, we're going to talk about what everybody felt about the event. Because everything that happens after the event, it's a whole other story. But how did everybody feel about the
before we do that, just go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy. I feel the audience wants to know who you are, what you're about.
Yay. I'm Edwin.
This is Craig.
I'm Akash, and I'm about that life.
Akash is here. Akash is here.
Surprise, Akash is actually here.
Whatever the hell that means.
And basically, the only thing that really Akash has to say about this is fears confirmed. This podcast is titled Fears Confirmed, not episode 5. It's Fears Confirmed.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we can go ahead, like you were saying, we just go ahead and get started with, what were you saying? What do you want to start with?
How do you guys feel about how the event took off? Because all the stuff that happens after the event is interesting, but how did you feel about the initial 1 hour reveal of the system in general?
Alright, yeah, so I guess I can start. To me,
get that anger flowing. Get the juices going.
Honestly, I mean, when we talk about a game console being released, you set up a press conference to debut your system. Mm-hmm. Now, being a gaming system, I want to hear about some games that are coming out. I mean, granted, I want to hear what the console can do, the specs of the console, all that's well and good. But at the end of the day, what I'm coming here is, why am I buying this system? Is I want to play some damn games on it. So, as far as games are concerned, from this conference, what actually did we get?
Agreed.
We got
well, as far as I know, and like I told you, I didn't even bother watching the whole damn thing because it just seemed pointless. As far as I can see, and as what Edwin told me, this whole conference, 40 minutes of it dealt with just mainly TV-based features. And we knew that they were trying to take this direction with taking the Xbox into making it like a set-top box or like a cable box.
I guess to me, that's where they have to name one from. It's going to be like the one console you can use to navigate all your entertainment systems.
They should probably just call it the Xbox One because they're starting they're rebooting the whole thing because it's not even a game. This is not a successor to the gaming console.
That's what they stated, but we know it means all in one. Seriously.
What I'm getting at is I understand. I mean, the fact that you talk about your TV stuff is all well and good because I want to know what your system can do as beyond games because I mean that's a big thing about consoles now. It's not just about.
I think it stems from the idea that there was these statistics going around where so and so amount of people use Netflix on their Xbox or PlayStation or Wii, and that's where a lot of that comes from. And I guess they saw this huge market for it, and you see all these apps coming through for Hulu and these anime apps where you can watch anime and all that stuff like that. And more and more people are
Crunchyroll.
Yeah, Crunchyroll is doing that too. And you see more and more people are using their Xboxes and their PlayStations for these things other than gaming because it's sort of an entertainment hub now. And I dare say the PlayStation kind of started this trend even simply because granted the Xbox could play DVDs with that nifty little attachment they had.
But even if look at the PSP. Like getting back to the PSP, like what was the PSP but an entertainment system?
Yeah,
you know?
like a lot of people. The whole thing was you could take it on the commute and listen to music, watch videos.
It was a strong game system in terms of having games to it, but it's like the multimedia aspects came after for most gamers.
Right. So
you could own it realistically and not play games on it, but nowadays you could almost own any device and technically not play games on it, use it for a secondary DVD player or a secondary media player like the PSP. But where we're driving home is, I mean, no one pays $300, $400 for such a thing just to get that.
Which brings back my point. It's like I understand why they want to talk about all their television integrations, all the things that they can do with it. But at the end of the day, like you just said, at the end of the day, what we're buying the system for is to play video games on it, right? I mean, it's a gaming console. So when you premiere,
he said right, like he's unsure now.
Like this is what we're doing here, right? We talk about games, but like so when you have a conference and like the main things you want to talk about are EA Sports games, you want to talk about Call of Duty, which to me, granted. EA Sports, you got Madden, FIFA, all these things. These are games that I already know are coming to the system. You don't have to tell me this, because I know Madden is going to get ported to every single system that it can be ported to.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't news to me. You come to me and say, oh yeah, well guess what? You know why you should buy my system? Because Madden's going to be on it.
Yeah,
no fucking shit.
And it's like, I know I brought this up before, and I don't want to touch on this point for a long time, because you know how it always turns out. But it's like, Microsoft's always talking about Call of Duty as if it were an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, we get it. You have Call of Duty,
and I understand that the majority of people do play on your console, and and it's also not by much, I believe. And I also do believe that you tend to get the first rights on DLC content.
Yeah,
but I mean,
they do have that.
Whoop-de shit.
And
that's
they
because
still have that. They made a big point that they still have
but that doesn't mean that this is your IP.
Yeah,
you don't have IPs.
I think they understand that. I think with them, everybody's kind of getting this weird feeling of who are you marketing the system to? Now, if you're showing these IPs to any gamer that knows EA, that knows Activision, they know these companies primarily make, multi-platform games. So when you're trying to sell this to me, it tells me you're not selling it to a gamer, because to tell somebody my platform will have Madden doesn't sell you the platform. Well, every platform will have Madden.
Exactly.
Every platform's going to have Call of Duty. You don't sell it to me. Now, when I seen it, you have to understand I'm going to buy a PlayStation 4 day one. So when I'm watching this press conference, in my mind, I'm looking at, okay, I possibly want to get the new Call of Duty. Nowhere in my mind do I say, I'm going to have to buy an Xbox One to get that experience. I'm merely just enjoying this from the third party that I'll buy.
I'm just going to have to wait like a week or so until
I
get
the DLC. But
even
the DLC, I don't really care too much about. You have to wait for all DLC.
This is actually
would it really matter that you're waiting a couple months here and that's not enough for me to buy some extra?
This is actually an interesting point too, because it really brings it down to, I feel like lately, and this isn't really even something I realized up until now, just how much emphasis is being placed on this. But now when people talk about consoles and say, oh, I like the Xbox or I like the PS3, and they compare them and compete against them like fanboys as they are, they always tend to bring up now that the Xbox has no IPs or the PlayStation has these exclusives, and these are always the typical arguments you see floating around. And I understand that when it comes right down to it, the software is what sells the hardware, and that's the most important aspect.
Always.
But I think in this case, we're missing out on this little aspect that we're seeing these conferences, and they're not doing a very good job of selling their hardware alone. Because look what happened when the PlayStation, when they unveiled the PlayStation. What did they talk about? They talked about not only a bunch of games, but they came straight out rolling with features about streaming, sharing, all these plethora of like media features basically,
right.
And how you can do the Ustream integration and all that stuff. And I just don't think it really holds up to, look at Microsoft. What do? They talked about TV. And what?
Yeah,
what else do they talk about?
They talk about...
It's just like that video we saw. TV.
I get it. It's like when they show the ESPN thing, and that's not even primarily my problem.
And mind you, I just let me say this. I'm not even like against Microsoft necessarily. I own an Xbox 360. I have an 8-year Xbox Live account.
Speak for yourself.
I'm not for or against any
I like to
gaming
look
console.
at everything as open-mindedly as possible. But when you come out and all you want to talk about is
this is
how
bad.
I can wave my hands and talk to my system to turn it on.
No.
It's like, to me, like, what is that giving me as a gamer? You know, like, okay, so I feel a little lazy one day. I can say Xbox, turn on and watch Netflix.
To me,
bam, I'll be okay
I actually feel
Netflix.
that's more effort than pushing a button.
Probably.
I swear to God, like I've had the idea of putting a button, pressing a button in my mind is like mindless. It's been ingrained into me through the years of television
you
and
literally
Nintendo.
fall on it.
Yeah, like
okay.
I've been laying on my bed, and my Xbox or my PlayStation or my TV has been like maybe like 3 or 4 feet away from my bed, and I'll just slide over the edge of my bed, squeeze it, push that button, and roll back into bed.
You're reaching so hard. You're just like, I want it so bad.
All that effort paid off. I'm not gonna be like laying in bed. Xbox. Hey.
Hey, you turn on.
Turn on, right?
As much as we joke about the feature, it's like, look, though I don't like how they presented it, as a gamer, I don't like how they presented it. I understand that they're a company that still has to sell a piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And they're clearly trying to show, look, this is why we're different than everybody
which is
else.
why I understand that they talk about it. But when you make it like the focal point of your entire conference, that's the problem.
That's the point that I was getting to, was the idea that they spent a very long time telling you about all these app features, social features, ESPN, TV, the Connect, and how it's going to work with it. They talked so much about this that you seem to forget that this is supposed to be a game system. Now, yes, these are nice features to have inside of a game system, but the price point of what the system's going to be, your $300, $400, is not something you buy for a multimedia player. Even Apple TV doesn't cost something as outrageous as that. Now, last year at CES, Samsung, Panasonic, and you name it, unveiled their 4K resolution TVs and talked about that all these TVs now have the little motion. You could motion to make it do this. You could tell it to turn on, and has multi-gestures with your hands to click on stuff. These are all nice things that are coming out of these TVs. But this is something that a different crowd wants. You don't say, well, for $400 we'll sell you a device that kind of does that for you, considering if this was a standalone thing by itself that wasn't a game system, who would really pay $400 to $300 for such a machine when majority of those features you could buy at any Western digital media player, any Roku media player, any media player period, you could get that way. Now, the biggest problem I have is that they're trying to get one crowd to pay for it, but the other crowd to reap the benefits after the cost of the system possibly goes down. We know that the hardware inside of this system is what is making it cost $400, but that is not what is being sold. What's being sold is the media features. But at the same time, you're trying to use the gaming to sell something else. There's something else they want to sell, and it's not what warrants that $400 price tag. It's almost like the gaming portion of it is just the gateway to get to the casual market.
So what you're basically saying is that you predict that Microsoft is basically trying to ride off the wallets of the gamers,
absolutely,
and use their money to fund kickstart their own project into the casual media market.
That's no different than what happened with Connect. It's no different than what happened around 2007.
Except, to be honest, I feel that no gamer in his right mind would buy Connect.
No, but we say what we say about Connect. 25 million people thought otherwise.
People did buy the Connect.
I look at it. I look at it like this. Microsoft always launches.
I would love to poll these people.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you 25 million people. How satisfied are you?
Well, I won't touch on it.
What did you do?
I won't touch on it too much, but I do feel that the word gamer is used very, very loosely these days.
Oh, for sure.
No, but it's
for sure. Everyone can be a gamer now. Like you said,
I don't
so loose to the fact that
I actually never address myself as a gamer.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm a gamer. What games do you play? I play Dance Central.
Yeah.
I used to play Rock Band.
Oh, but
I love me.
The words that immediately follow are "Get the fuck out."
Yeah, I understand that, but going back to the press conference, all that has to do with is we segment what gamers are either for or what gamers are casual. And the idea of people who are casual gamers spending money on the shovelware is something that's attractive to them that they want. Now, I understand that both systems are going to have two different meanings. You're going to have casual, you're going to have hardcore, you're going to have a little bit of everything there. I understand that. But they very much are heavily marketing more towards one than towards the other. Now, Microsoft always launches a system very, very aggressively. Now, I'm not saying they have bad launches. When they launch this, they really do have a lot of games and IPs. But what follows a year after, 2 years after, slowly you start seeing these IPs disappear. You don't see any sequels to a lot of these IPs, and then they close down the rest of these studios. So what was announced at this E3, at this press conference, they say that they're going to have 15 exclusives, and of 15 exclusives, 8 of them are new IPs.
We'll talk about Rare.
Okay.
If 8 of them are new IPs, you have to question how many of these will be Connect games, how many of these will be live games.
That's really what it comes down to.
That's one of the things I want to
Those are the statistics I want to know.
I mean,
it's like, yeah, okay, you have so and so amount of games coming out, but how many of these are games that I want to play?
Because, I mean, if you guys haven't seen the actual press conference, Microsoft boasts a lot about how they have 15 exclusive titles to the Xbox. How many did they say this? Like 8 about?
It was 8.
8
were new
8
IPs.
were new IPs. Okay. Fabulous. They revealed one. They revealed one of them. It was the Quantic Dream one.
Oh, it's Quantic Break. I know
Quantic Break.
Yeah, I was about to. Whoa. Because I was about to say, like, wait, the fuck? David Cage? What the fuck?
No, I'm sorry. It's Quantic something. I guess it's Quantic Break.
Yeah, it must
so
be. Quantic Dream is Beyond Two Souls, right?
No,
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
What?
Yeah, so Quantic Break is the game. And so, yeah, that's one. Fantastic. So now that means that there are 7. There are 7 exclusive titles, exclusive new IPs that are coming out to the new Xbox. And like you just said, it's like the Kinect. We all know Kinect is going to be on every single fucking console.
Well, I mean that's okay. I think it's better that way. Since you're pushing the console.
No, I agree. I agree. It is better to
feature.
include it than to have it as a separate peripheral.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now you are saying that it is marketable to produce Kinect games because now everybody that buys not 360, an Xbox One will now have a Kinect. So all of a sudden now that it opens the doors for all these people to buy it. So now what happens is, of these 7 new IPs, like Evan just said, how many of those are actually Kinect games?
Exactly.
How many of those are actually legit games that gamers are gonna loosely. That gamers are actually going to want to buy.
Casual and/or hardcore.
Yeah.
Now, of the 7,
I don't even know what to call us anymore. What do we call ourselves?
With this, I go by core. I go by
Nothing.
core, casual, semi-casual, or a little bit of both. I feel there's categories that kind of go a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that's a little bit like. It's almost derogatory towards casual gamers because there are casual gamers who know what they're talking about. They just prefer to play a different kind of game,
No, I understand,
or they prefer not to get involved. I'm not even getting on you about it. I'm not even getting on you about it because I use that term just as much and in just an aggressive way, especially when I'm playing like online shooters. Like fucking casuals.
Never mind how we're calling it. Never mind
Yeah,
what
exactly.
That has to do with.
Point is
But
the demographics.
The point of everything is you have 7 IPs that are being announced that we do not know of. One of IP which was announced, and we now got a question. Now with every Kinect being every single system, how many games will be Kinect games? You have to understand. Last generation they sold 25 million Kinects. Last generation
I'm also thinking to myself. They say that 8 IPs that are exclusive to Xbox
Now, hold on.
aren't new IPs.
I have a
How
question.
many fucking IPs did they have to actually make sequels off of them?
Yeah.
Yes.
What kind of rehash of a game that I'm not going to really want?
It's telling me.
Well, the question about the Kinects is those statistics for like 25 million Kinects or whatever you said. How many of those are actually the ones like that were included with the consoles, the bundle?
Doesn't matter. If you bought the bundle, you wanted it.
If you
bought the bundle,
I don't know about that.
Why would you choose the more expensive?
Because a lot of times parents buy these bundles for their children.
But no, listen to this. Even if we want to say these numbers are inflated, even if we want to say maybe they're not true, 8 studios were formed for Kinect games.
Yeah.
If you have 8 studios formed for Kinect games for no reason, it's just not making no money. They've made more money off of Kinect than they did the very first.
Let's get this straight. I'm not refuting this fact.
That's a big damn.
I'm not refuting the profitability of Kinect. It's pretty evident just in the popularity of like games like Dance Central alone. What I'm saying is that this still isn't relevant to a large majority of their audience. This ties into what you were saying before, where they're trying to use the gaming audience.
It is. I look at it like this way. It isn't relevant to them in that respect. It's relevant to Microsoft in their respect.
Yeah.
If you're purchasing a game on their platform, and let's say you're going out and of this 25, up to 70 plus million, a quarter of them were purchased with Kinect. Now, of the shovelwares that were used to sell Connect, if you think about a game that Rare made, if you think about a game that any one of their Connects...
What was that damn Sesame Street game they debuted at last E3?
Yeah. If you think
that Sesame Street game where the kids were just like, whoa!
If you think about a game like
Sorry,
that...
my mind can't get over the Magic Kingdom adventure.
Yes.
If you think about either of those games, how many of those games that cost less than $1 million to make these games?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If this game even sold $500,000, this game made more profit by a percentage than any one of their major IPs. So with that big percentage margin, this is what's shooting them to say we want to keep making these shovelware type experiences, Connect type experience. That's what's pushing them to do this. So never mind that majority is that majority is not.
One of those
making
Xbox
them
exclusive
that high
titles is
percentage.
probably just going to be another Dance Central.
Probably.
It is.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, now that we actually talk about it, it's like, yeah, one of those 15 is going to be.
And then I'm telling you right now, even forget about launch, but a little bit down the road, there's going to be a Halo 5 and 6, and there's going to be at least one spin-off title in between each release.
How can it not be?
No, I agree.
So,
but
mark my words.
You're going to see a
Certain Affinity, which is like a contracted company that usually works for Microsoft or 343 Studios in this case.
Right.
They're going to make another like fucking Halo 2 anniversary because in 2014 will mark the 10-year anniversary of Halo 2.
Right.
They'll shit out one of those, and then Halo 5 will come out, and then they'll shit out another fucking game.
Thing is, one of those like. I wouldn't be surprised if both of those came out at the same time because they're known to do that too. If the anniversary is coming up alongside like a new Halo release, they'll release both of those damn games.
I don't think they would release them at the same time.
They release them fucking close to each other.
They release them close.
Because how close was the Halo anniversary to freaking Reach? It really wasn't that far off.
I would say they'll do like 6 months.
No, that was like a year.
I put like a year, 6 months.
Yeah, it was a year.
I would put a 6 month gap if it's a different team. If you have a different team, and mind you, if they're just porting it,
but either way,
a great team.
Either way, it's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is that Microsoft says that there's 15 exclusive titles, right? They're not saying these 15 exclusive titles are launch games. They're not saying you're going to get these games right away.
Oh.
So what this is basically telling me is that it's a very good possibility that, like you said, one of those games is going to be Halo 2 Anniversary. One of these games is going to be the next Halo game. And then, of course, you're going to see, like we were talking about before, you're going to see another Fable.
Yeah.
And you're going to see another Gears of War.
Do you guys think we'll see another Alan Wake?
No, because the Alan Wake team is one that's making Quantum Break.
Remedy's
is it?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, of the 7 games that we know of, Forza's already been announced to be one of them.
Yeah, Forza.
So, Forza's announced to be one of them.
I forgot they announced Forza.
Yeah.
It was such like a...
It's a forgettable game.
Yeah,
what the fuck? Whatever happened to Project Gotham?
Doesn't it? They don't have enough teams to make this.
They don't do it no more, man.
Bizarre Creation's not there.
I think that would have been a way cooler IP than Forza.
But I think Project Gotham is a game that they will release simply because you have to understand, they own a couple of IPs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they outsourced it to another team.
But to me, the way Microsoft has been going, they've been like so for Forza. I almost see it as like, why compete with yourself?
Why are they trying to push Forza so much to be this Gran Turismo competitor? It's not gonna happen.
They can't, but
you don't compete with Gran Turismo.
This is not an understanding of whether it can or whether it can't. This is strictly business. They have money to make it.
It's about filling that. It's about filling that.
They got a team. They have an IP. They're there to fill the void. Never mind.
I get what you're saying. It's like that. It's like that mirror image.
That's not how business works.
Yeah, but granted, I guess. More back on point. We talked about 15 exclusive games. It's like talking about it is like shit. We pretty much know half of them already. Yeah. Like don't give me none of this shit. Like you're gonna surprise me.
Yeah, I say of the 8 new IPs, 7 of which are gonna be of the 8 new IPs, of the 15, 7 are going to be games we already know. They're gonna be existing IPs. We know one's Forza. We know one's possibly
and another one of the existing IPs, because they said they're going to be new IPs. Rare has actually come out and even stated that
they're tired of making Avatar clothes.
that they actually came out and said that the next game that they're making is going to be a game that the fans are going to be very pleased about, that they're actually revitalizing this franchise.
Okay, so that's
so that right there in itself says that Rare is not making a new IP because it's a franchise that we've already seen.
So that's already.
So that's already one of those that is not a new IP.
So that's one down the bet.
What do you guys think that it could be?
To me, honestly,
of the four,
I'm up. To me, there's two possibilities. Either they try to redeem the Banjo series, or because of the recent like craze in like fighting games, it might actually even be a new Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct, yeah.
Yeah. Because fighting games, you've seen this generation has been awesome for fighting games. It really has. Like, there's been so many fighting games, and there've been so many good fighting games.
Yeah, you're right.
A new Killer Instinct just seems like it seems plausible.
And you know,
there's one thing I'd like to add to that. Is typically when a system launches, the best games that normally sell on the system are your action racer or your fighting game. These are the things that highlight the system, because a lot of times the people who want to buy this system, they want something straightforward and straight general. They're not going to buy an RPG because that's a hit or miss with a lot of people.
Yeah, hell
They're
yeah.
not going to buy a lot of things. So your biggest seller for these systems are going to be three things. It will be your first-person shooter, your action racer, or your sim racer, because Forza is kind of a little bit both of those, whatever. And it's going to be your.
I think Forza is closer to a sim.
Yeah.
I think Forza, it's like a little bit of both.
Forza, you're right. I don't have that much experience.
I think Forza's trying to compete with Gran Turismo so hard that it will try to be more of a sim than an arcade.
Yeah, I'm very much surprised
for
that
the sale for them selling it. I don't think they'll go. I think they're gonna do it kind of like sort of like how Horizon is, where sort of kind of like arcadey. Because I think they're trying to make it as big and as general as possible. I don't think they.
I'm surprised no developer is trying to put their own twist on the car combat genre, like Twisted Metal. I still have yet to play the reboot. I want to.
Me neither. I haven't played it either.
I've always enjoyed Twisted Metal. Well, actually, let me rephrase that before I get panned. I've always enjoyed Twisted Metal 1, 2, and maybe 4.
I like Twisted Metal Black.
You didn't like Black?
Black was nah.
You didn't like? I like Black.
Black was like there was a lot of good things about Black. I beat it, first of all. Let me just say that much. So I did play it through.
No, I just want to clarify something.
But I think
Black is the only one I have played.
Black is a very slippery game.
Is it?
It's like your car accelerates from like 0 to fucking 90 and like just like that.
Like I said, Black is the only Twisted Metal that I've played.
But you know what? That is. I don't think there's anything wrong with that game in particular. I think that was my personal bias because Twisted Metal 2 and 3 and 4, they were all very slippery games too. Personally, I thought 4 was a really cool game, just because you could make your own car.
True.
There will not be a car combat game at Microsoft.
No shit, there's not.
No.
The three games that are...
Hell no.
Hell no.
the three type
Microsoft
games,
taking a risk?
No, that's not going to do it. So the three type games that I expect to be there are your traditional fighting game, your traditional racing game.
Yeah, which is why I really feel Killer Instinct might be.
Well, don't count out the action genre entirely.
No, I feel there'll be one there, but that's always a hit or miss.
I think that a platformer is always a good option to have.
I think something like a platform is also a hit or miss too.
But it's like...
Especially with
here's the difficulty.
No,
the thing with platformers is that they actually have to be good. When you make a platform, yeah, exactly. When you make a platformer, you need to have some sort of design aspect that works. When you make a platformer, there's a lot of things that need to flow well, need to be well thought out, and not shit out within the span of a year and a half.
Yeah, so very true. So what you're saying is there won't be.
So what I'm saying is we will not be seeing a platformer.
So between.
Unless you want to know the nuts and bolts.
No.
Is that what you want?
What the fuck?
Nuts and bolts 2?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to call?
You know, the thing is about like what we were saying about Rare is that I feel that Microsoft did probably intervene a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because like if you look, if you look,
the game's there.
If you
Banjo
look at
3E is there.
Yeah, if you look at nuts and bolts, there are these large open vistas that look like they were going to be populated with all these things. And the world itself looked really cool and very colorful and Banjo-esque. And then all of a sudden, there's this car.
Even the story in itself, like the whole like Banjo got fat because he hasn't been in the gaming industry for like a really long time.
That's some very rare shit.
That was really clever writing. But then you're surrounded by just shit gameplay.
And then all of a sudden they fucking...
I'm going to use an expletive and say shit gameplay because that's what it was.
Yeah, well, because they fucking threw in this random car aspect and then Mumbo turned into a chop shop dealer.
Did he?
Yeah, motherfucker owns a chop shop.
Oh, God. I feel we're getting a little bit off track here.
Just a little bit.
No,
at least we're dealing something to do with the Xbox here.
That has nothing to do with what's going on in this year.
We were talking about Rare, and they're affiliated with Microsoft.
Rare and Microsoft go hand in hand now.
Let me have this.
Of the number of games that are coming out...
Rare!
of the
I'm
number.
pretty sure we screamed about Rare in another episode.
Yeah,
Very
we
much
have.
so. all the number of games that we're discussing of the 7. All right, we have Forza as a confirmed one.
Mm-hmm.
We have a possible.
Wasn't it?
Banjo game
I do believe they
as the
listed.
second one.
I don't think that it'll be an exclusive, but I'm pretty sure they listed Thief 4.
Thief Force was going to be on that platform. No, I mean of the actual launch of the system and of the.
So
the
we're talking
actual
just strictly-
Microsoft published game.
strictly-
Yeah,
These
because
are
Microsoft said literally they
published
had.
So we're talking
They
like
had
first
50
party.
They had
First party.
15 exclusive. They made a point
Mind
to
you,
say 15 exclusive.
this was not
titles.
them saying we'll have 15 ones at a time. No, this
Yeah.
was Microsoft Studios. So of the 7,
You have to forgive me if I'm not used to that
Yeah,
anymore.
kind of weird thing. What do you think about when they were like? Remember they were talking about how like they had like 5 billion transistors in the new console.
they're saying some shit about the GPU.
Like, I mean-
I think I know what you're talking about.
A lot
Yeah.
of people
Like,
feel.
in our new console we'll be having 5 billion transistors.
Yes, I think it was just a fancy. It was just
Yeah.
a fancy way of saying we don't want to say the teraflop because we know the teraflop of the PlayStation 4. So we're just gonna say another number.
Yeah,
Like,
to me,
that's
it's
how
like,
I feel. It was
to
kind
me,
of
to me, it was more like, oh man, like instead of saying this one number is so much higher and sounds so much more impressive that we're gonna use this number in our console.
Well, yeah, I mean,
instead.
people do that all the time.
So I mean,
though.
like, yeah, because
Like if you look at like numerical scoring systems within games that I will not mention, there's usually a case where like if they want to make it feel even more cheaper and even more rewarding, they'll just increase the number. Like look, Final Fantasy 13, you just did 8,000 damage like 5 times.
yeah. but,
Why
like,
couldn't you just show one number instead of
Yeah.
making this like what I'm
no,
talking
I
about?
agree. Yeah, no,
Like
I
13
agree.
is very like
So
that.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I'm saying is like.
I feel it was
Like, I
it
feel
was
like
just
they're
them.
overhyping their console. They're
Yes.
trying to say things that aren't really there.
I think
And
I think it's
I think,
there. I don't think they're
even,
lying.
No, I mean, no, I'm
just
not
think
saying, I'm
it
not
was-
saying they're lying, but it's just like you're overinflating it.
Yes.
You're overinflating
I-
for no reason.
I think they're just saying a different number to market it differently.
I watched,
which is smart because you don't want to have to say a low.
Yeah, I
number.
watched the
That's
the thing-
smart,
the
but at
thing
the
is,
same
though,
time,
thing
it's
is, though,
very
a lot-
evident that
yeah,
they're
me,
trying to
the thing is,
stretch.
though,
Sure.
a lot of people, us gamers, we're not stupid. Like I watched,
I don't know about that.
no, dude, there are a lot of gamers who are not.
No, you're right. There are a lot of gamers who are not
I watched
dumb.
the game, the Screw Attack, the Screw Attack post game, the post Xbox show.
Let me just say this.
Yeah.
There are a lot of gamers who are also very much not so dumb. But remember, within the past 10 years, there have been a large influx of newer gamers. who
Oh
have
yeah,
been-
I
who
mean,
have been playing.
no, I'm not saying that there aren't people who are going to.
And I'm not even.
buy into
I'm
this.
not even necessarily calling those people dumb in and of themselves.
No.
They're just not necessarily as into it as some other people are. They don't
Oh, yeah,
sit
I
here
mean,
and look at the
I'm
facts.
not saying. I'm not going to call you dumb just because you don't know
Like,
computer lingo.
Yeah, like everybody has
But, like,
those things where they.
Because honestly, like when you say 5 billion transistors, I didn't know what the fuck that
Yeah,
meant.
no,
I
that's
had
cool.
I had to go research that after the show. But when I watched the Screw Attack post game show, and they were talking about that. They're like, oh yeah, Xbox said they had 5 billion transistors, but our streaming PC right there that we're using to stream this post game actually has 6 billion transistors. So it's like we're not sure exactly why this is so impressive. Like, what exactly are you trying to tell us that you're doing here? It's like to me that just like once I heard that, I was like, oh okay, maybe I should actually find out what the fuck transistors mean, because this obviously isn't that impressive of a thing if these guys are streaming like this low budget. I mean, I like Screw Attack.
They
I
should've-
like what they do, but like
Marketing schemes.
exactly.
Pretty much so.
That's all it is. It's all it is. It's just them saying a big number to make people impressed.
And it's not.
They should have went over the top of it too, even more so than that, because they're already digging themselves deep. They should have started off with, you know how many transistors we have?
like yo, just like go like even further than that. Like, you know how many atoms our freaking system takes up?
Thank you.
Our system takes up 7 trillion atoms.
Thank you.
It could have even been like,
Great, that system's big as fuck too.
yeah,
I'm just saying, have you seen that shit's big as fuck?
They should have done it another way. They should have been like, they should just quietly, gets quiet, 5 billion. And then they point to the gentleman in eyes. Do you know what that number means? 5 billion. That is how many transistors we have.
The system.
That one guy. You have to point to like the fattest, like the most lowest self-esteem guy in the audience. Like, you know what that means? He's just like jiggling, like
He's
excited.
like,
yeah! He's just like getting so excited. He doesn't know why.
And he's like, you know what that means? Of course you don't. You're not Microsoft.
We know what that means.
The way the system looks itself, it's like really big, and they call it Xbox One. It's like maybe you guys have it this big to make us reminisce about the first Xbox in terms of size and value. Because I mean, with both of these things having the name in common, it's like fat, like a VCR fat, not fat like everybody's giving a fuck fat.
Yeah.
But I don't really care too much for how they designed it because it looks like ginormous. About that big. It's pretty much like.
Oh shit! It's really that big?
Have you seen
big, yo.
I've only seen the pictures. I haven't.
Legit. It looks like.
I haven't seen like the scale.
It looks like that one gaming console that AVGN always makes fun of. How fucking huge it is. That's what it looks like to me.
Pretty much like a DVR.
Yeah, it looks like an old-fashioned VCR to me.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It looks like one of those dish. And essentially, it's the size of this receiver.
There's even a picture online. They're saying oh guys, I did it. I got a new Xbox One, and the dude literally he took pieces of paper. And he wrote Xbox One on it, and he put it all over like an old ass VCR. That's what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like. His fucking thing is huge.
Damn, I've seen pictures of it. I haven't seen it put next to in scale next to something.
By scale next to the controller, you can kind of tell it's pretty.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really pay attention to that. I guess because size doesn't really become a huge issue.
But to me, it's there's a limit. There's
I don't know.
I guess I'm more bashed than anything.
That's something that always happens though. Look at the.
That is a big system.
This is a little irrelevant, but you look at phones, and for a while the trend was going, we're making them smaller and smaller and smaller, and then they're just we're gonna make this shit huge. Look at the fucking.
At the same time, the more things you want to add into this thing, you can't keep making it smaller. The technology isn't there to make these things small, so you want to have it.
Well, that's how it always is. The first iteration console is always huge, and then you get the slim version.
Yeah,
that's how
it has to. With the situation with the phones, doesn't have really to do with the trend as much as it had to do with that
features and screen sizes.
Went from touchscreen.
Yeah.
So going from touchscreen, a lot of your phone was no longer keys in an interface. It's now the entire phone is the screen itself.
Yeah.
So clearly, having a bigger screen meant a little bit more. So it's not. The phone getting bigger is just
and you get what I'm saying though. I'm saying people are more okay with having a large phone now, because we're talking about a big screen. But look at the Galaxy Note.
That's different because we're talking about having a bigger screen. Now, if you were to say,
this
is the size of my screen, and I had a phone and it was bigger, my bigger's better, y'all. No, you want the bigger screen. This is what's drawing people saying, look at that 8-inch OLED, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
That's the draw. Yeah. The size of this system. Nobody wants this shit.
I shouldn't have brought the size.
What are you gonna do? Okay, put it like this. You're putting this in your cabinet, and it's gonna be next to your Blu-ray player. It's gonna be next to your Dish Network TV thing or your Comcast TV
for God's sakes!
So it's connecting to your Comcast or connecting to your cable thing. So you're gonna have one fat receiver on top of another fucking fat receiver.
Well, for God's sakes, man, show some practicality. You can just lift them up vertically and then throw your wet towel over them to dry it over the day.
Sure. Why would I do that? And the way they made the ports,
would you do
it can't be turned vertically. The way they made the ports, the way they kind of put the ports in the back of it, it's like they're trying to show that they don't really want it to be sitting any other way.
Alright, but
because it's heavy enough to fall over and kill itself.
It's the brick.
Bringing up the size really isn't that great of an issue.
No, it's not.
Let's be real. It's more of just a poke fun at my your system's big.
I just like to get drunk and yell at the mic.
Stop making fun of my lifestyle.
I'd say nothing.
But I'm just saying, it's really not that big of a deal how big it is. I guess we were more just making fun of, the
I'm really proud of you guys too. We went through that whole conversation without anybody saying that's what she said. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm real proud of you guys.
I don't say those things.
Internet, we did it. We did it.
But how did you guys think any of the PR guys seem to handle their deal itself?
So
the PR guys seem to be
I guess basically we covered basically.
They were.
No shit.
That's what I say. We basically did cover everything that happened in the actual conference, though, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't think it's
really not much more happened.
I don't think it's necessary to talk about the exact specifics like ESPN. Everybody fucking knows.
Well, yeah, you're gonna get on fantasy football. Hooray!
Yeah.
You're gonna get to watch your player make a touchdown and then be like, oh man, how many points did I get me in my fantasy team?
Yeah.
And then like go to that. Cool.
To interject on that, there's some more points that I have to do with that.
They're like pushing that.
And
you can do this.
In terms of pushing it really, really, really hardcore, they spent over $400 million on this NFL deal for the next 5 years. So if you ever want a general idea of how much they're going towards the whole TV,
well, that just shows how committed they are to it.
That's saying that's how committed they are.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Hell yeah, it is.
That's the type of money where it's like, if you're going to spend $400 million to get this NFL deal, you're asked to even spend this much money to buy a fucking gaming company.
Yeah,
that's
exactly, when he said $400 million, that's exactly what I thought in my head.
So what you need to understand is
that is a very good point.
Any of the teams that were bought last generation by Sony, whether it be Evolution, Guerrilla Games, Media Molecule, they didn't spend $100 million. They spent $30 million to purchase big studios in Evolution.
So basically, to me, this is like an open letter to all you Microsoft fans. How do you feel that
Microsoft is taking your money for a ride?
Microsoft would rather spend $5 million making sure that you can keep track of all your NFL data.
And that was 400.
And make sure.
400.
Oh, sorry, 400.
I was like, $5 million ain't shit, dog.
I would have been like, damn, it's like going out there pretty easy.
Whoa. I was just like, what the fuck? $5 million is like, they just had to, that's the amount of money it probably cost for them just meat.
The tent itself to have the meeting was only $5 million.
All right. Excuse me. But how does that make you feel that Microsoft would rather spend $400 million on a deal with the NFL just so you can, keep track of your fantasy football team and make sure that everything's going right on your free fantasy league that you pretend to be a coach instead of actually buying game companies to improve your gaming system as a whole.
So it's
like what does that tell you as a gamer?
I personally, if they're gonna say this and they're gonna tout the whole big 15 number and then talk about 8 new IPs and 7, coming that we already know of. If you're going to tout this number at E3, so help me God, you better tell me you bought 2 new companies and you spent just as much money as you just spent on this NFL initiative. It tells me this is where their money's going.
Yeah.
And if you ever, and I've said this before.
This is what's important to them, obviously.
If you ever want to follow what a company's going to do,
just
follow what they already have done. If you look back at either getting rid of studios or spending more money opening up different studios or spending money here, that's what they want. They'll spend, even with Sony when they bought Genkai, or Gakai.
Genkai, that's fucking Yu Yu Hakusho.
But if you look that they purchased this company for $380 million, they purchased this company. You don't need to guess. That is just a little peek at what they want to do with their next system. That was an easy guess to say they're going to do it. So when PlayStation 4 comes out and says, hey, guess what? You'll be able to stream your games. You'll be able to rent games. You'll be able to play them before you, whatever.
Yeah, and this is the most important because you see the relevancy that all these features are about games.
Yes.
I feel really bad.
When they purchase this, you kind of know that this is what this company is aiming for.
Yeah, these are supplementary features to your gaming experience, and this is the most important thing.
I heard a quote on the internet. It was
no way.
It was they're freaking. Yo, you go on the internet. There's quotes everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. You ever been on Facebook?
But I forget who it was. I feel really bad that I cannot quote this person because it was a very
because they maybe
it was very ingenious.
Oh, okay.
Basically, they're saying the difference between Xbox's presentation and PlayStation's presentation. PlayStation's presentation said they're using gaming to facilitate entertainment, whereas Xbox is using entertainment to facilitate gaming.
Yeah.
It's to me like nothing really wraps it up better than that.
It's self-explanatory.
It's completely perfect.
That's
exactly what's happening. At PlayStation, they're using their gaming aspect to further the entertainment that gaming can provide for us. Whereas Microsoft, they're focusing purely on the entertainment market.
Well, I mean, I guess what you're saying is that, like, basically, it's like what I just said. Like, PlayStation, you look at all the features they're implementing for their hardware, and these things are supplementary.
Exactly what brought that to my mind.
Yeah.
Like, they're using their gaming, the the games that they
no matter which way you look at it,
to push a more entertaining experience for the actual gamer themselves.
Well, yeah, because these features are built around the games.
Exactly.
They're not.
Exactly.
They're built for the games. They enhance that gaming experience. They are
Xbox is
one
literally
intertwined.
marketing itself as an entertainment
And
system.
instead, okay, like
and
if you
not
can
a
look at
gaming
it,
platform.
if you can look at it this from like a physicality perspective, I imagine that for Xbox, their games, their
I feel really
consumers,
bad that I cannot quote this
their
person,
their
but,
games,
to me,
their
like,
consumers.
it's such a good quote.
Yeah.
Like it fits so well. I actually want to like go back and like look.
So
and
basically,
find out
their games and their consumers, it's like a springboard. They're basically using them like a trampoline to jump off into this other market. Whereas Sony, I feel like they have their games in the center and all these things
Which
surrounding
is what it
them.
should be, because honestly, at the end of the day, these are like I've said.
They're gaming
I feel like I've
consoles.
said this like 10 times already, but like these are gaming platforms. This is what I don't tune in to the Xbox conference because I want to see how the new way I can watch television.
Well,
I want to see what the next step in gaming is going to be.
You have to think about it from this perspective too. Like I really do feel bad for people who like blindly follow Microsoft and attend these conferences, because we're sitting here in the comfort of our own homes watching this conference for free through a live stream. We didn't spend money to go here and do this or be involved in this or waste time being there. Imagine it's just like E3. People went there to see this conference. And what do they get? They get something that has jack shit to do with gaming.
Well, E3 is a little different now. E3 is a little different now because it's all reporters. It's all people in the industry. You're getting paid to go there now. If it was just me as a gamer, like if it was like open to the public and I went there and I saw Xbox's conference, as a gamer, yeah, I'd be fucking pissed off. But like now, literally, you're going there because you know that you have to come back and write an article about it. Because
but what's the fucking point? Because half the time,
I mean,
there's an event,
but
there's
me,
always an NDA.
As a writer personally, I'd be like, oh, good. This is
Well,
perfect. I have all these things to write about because I can say like, oh, what the fuck is Microsoft doing? They're not really a gaming console anymore, are they?
Yeah, but at the same time, you may
yeah,
or may not be invited to the next event, depending on what you say.
Whoa, bitch. Whoa, yeah, at the same time.
That's what it all comes down to.
It all comes down to journalistic integrity. Yeah.
I know.
I don't know how much you want to say.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, you have to find. You have to find this balance and realize that this is why a lot of articles are written tongue-in-cheek or subtly, because
well, I mean, yeah, I do understand that.
You do want to speak your mind.
It's easier for us
but at the
to
same
say like
time,
whatever the fuck we want about it because we are literally tied to no one.
Yeah, and
we say what the fuck we want because we're foxhole
motherfucker.
motherfucker. We don't give a shit.
We say what we want. Nobody owns us.
you just hear a fucking door being kicked down, a bunch of suitcases being thrown on the table.
Disney's coming back for the revenge.
Foxhole Cast is sponsored by Doritos.
I want you to send us money now because you said that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
hear a crunch. Hear that? That was a Dorito.
Cooler Ranch Doritos.
Going back to what we were talking about, the system specs. Anything that when you look at both of these systems and you see that one's being advertised one way and the other one's being advertised another way. If you look at how they're advertising, it even goes down to the specs. I was discussing this earlier with Craig. If you look at that, they chose to go with 8 gigs DDR3, and then later on, this is a little bit after the press conference, we find out that the 3 OSs that we're running on the Xbox One take about 3 gigs to hold the OSs. So the footprint of the OS takes 3 gigs, but the RAM itself is only 5 gigs. So if you take into consideration that 5 gigs will be used for games, where PlayStation's 8 gig GDDR3 or GDDR5 is 100% unified through the GPU and through the actual system, you're showing that, hey, look, if you're not doing an entertainment feature, the RAM won't be used for there. It's going to be redirected to where the game's going to be being played. Now, that's something you can't do on PC because you need an OS to run it. You're going to have the footprint of the OS on there always, clearly, but that's what having the GPUs with the extra gig of RAM is, to get rid of that footnote, to say you want just true gaming power. You don't have to worry about, well, Windows Vista 7 takes up this much space.
Yeah.
Now, for them to have 2 or 3 OSs on there and say that, well, these OSs take up a footprint, that's going to be 3 gigs. So 5 gigs is going to be used for gaming. You already have the lower latency RAM. Now you're telling me you also have less memory altogether when it comes to just games. So why did this OS, something that has nothing to do with gaming, take up the RAM that should be used for the primary purpose of this platform.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, I want to make sure that we go ahead and...
that sounds to me like the
I just want to go ahead and make sure we clarify this for the audience, because I'm not sure if we actually stated this. The Xbox One is actually going to be running 3 OSs, right?
Yeah.
3 OSs that are going to take out, like 3?
It's going to be 3.
3 gigs? 3 gigs of RAM?
It's going to be 3 gigs.
3 gigs of an already 8 gigabytes of RAM that's already in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 5 gigabytes of RAM used for your gaming purposes, right? Whereas Evan was saying how with the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I do that too. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're in the next gen now.
Not
PlayStation 4.
We are.
Like you said, if you can just explain that better for me, because I'm not good with tech talk.
With both systems have 8 gigs of RAM in terms of memory.
Right.
Now we know that with DDR1, 2, 3, and so on, there's different latencies or different speeds. Now the different amount of speeds that you're going to have are going to determine which one's going to be better. So having to be able to process faster speed or more uniform speed is something that's really, really, really important. So the PlayStation 4's 8 gig. Get out of here.
You did it.
I hear you. No, but the 8 gig of GDDR5 memory on the PlayStation, I believe, is actually slower, but it's unified and therefore could be used in more different ways. It's much more powerful. Where 8 gigs DDR3 is a little bit cheaper, it's slightly faster, but it's less powerful. You could do less things with it.
Yeah, but
and it's not unified, i.e. you can't just move memory in one area to another. If you have 8 gigs of ununified, you could use anywhere that's not directed especially towards an OS. It simply means that you could take it to do what you want.
Right.
A developer could say, you know what, my game takes 7 gigs, I'll use that 7 gigs. But you can't do that when one's dedicated to the OS, just like on your PC. If there's space dedicated to your OS, that 1 gig footnote that's there, you can't get rid of that. That's nothing that a developer can ever
So basically what you're saying is that even though they're matching with PlayStation in terms of numerics, it's more about if they really have ideally about 5 gigs.
It's about power, it's about speed,
literally,
it's also about...
In numerics, yes, they're matching, but it's still 2 different types of RAM.
That's what I'm saying.
Put it this way.
What I'm saying is that was their plan, though.
Right.
On paper, it looks about the same, but ideally, in terms of performance, it is not the same.
Yeah, if you say, 8 gigs, oh, same. No.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I also want to bring up, I literally want, because I'm not really good with tech talk and tech in general. But I want to bring that up to you about the PlayStation 4. With the 8 gigs of DDR5, and we all know that the PlayStation is going to be able to stream easily. You just press the share button. How does that factor in? How does the actual streaming portion of that factor into the whole RAM usage?
Well, with the RAM usage, if you even feel just to use such a feature on there,
right?
Let's say you're playing a game, and as you're playing whatever game you're playing, and you want to save the video. What the RAM does is if you're playing a game that doesn't use all the RAM or doesn't allow it, it's going to keep saving all these little videos in the background while you're playing the game.
Right.
Or it also allows things to run in the background as well. If you have another program running in the background, it'll allow such a thing. So if I'm playing Killzone, and let's say I'm playing multiplayer in Killzone, and I just got a kill, jumped inside of a vehicle, did something else, and then I noticed the kill I just got or something I shot made something else happen, I'm like, oh man, I want to save that. But that already happened. How do I save it? That memory is saved on the RAM. They said a couple of minutes. They didn't really say how long. It could be hours. So if you have 30 minutes saved for that, I could essentially press pause or get out of the game or when the game's done. Press the little
Lord knows the Killzone matching will last a half an hour.
Okay, or Battlefield 4. Let's say if it's Battlefield 4.
Right.
You just keep moving.
just keep with our Battlefield theme and how we all fucking love Battlefield here.
It's cool. So, I was looking at Akash while I said that.
Wow, yeah.
But,
thank you. I was beginning to think there was someone behind me.
So you keep moving back, and as you keep moving back and looking through this core memory, you're going to keep able to see the amount of time you're playing the game. So if this happened 30 minutes ago, I can look back in 30 minutes worth of video footage and find that look, but all that's stored on the RAM somewhere. RAM is memory. Memory that's stored in RAM is active memory. It's memory that's saying at any moment in time,
memory.
yes, you need to use it right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So you need to use it right now. It's just like on a PC. If you have Photoshop up, if I have a gig worth of pictures up that take up on that RAM, and let's say I click on Internet Explorer for whatever reason, I click on Internet Explorer, I don't want to have to then go back and program.
Why would you click on Internet Explorer?
I'm just as questionable as you are. I don't know why. but if I were to have to do this bizarre,
he just says that again.
Oh fuck!
Well, we're keeping with the Microsoft theme. Okay?
Oh shit!
Oh, fears confirmed.
Oh my god!
Wait a second. Edward Norton using Internet Explorer. Fears confirmed. But it's no different. It's no different if you're using Photoshop and you happen to click on some web browser, and after you're done clicking up, you don't want to have to watch it load back up. You want to click on it and instantly get back to what you need to get back to. That's what RAM does. So this in gaming is going to be a great thing just outside of a regular game. It's the same thing if you're playing a game and you're on a level, and the level that you're on, you don't want to see pop-in, you don't want to see pop-up. Everything is just loaded there, ready for it to go and ready for things to happen. All the stuff that's able to now be put in the RAM allows for that greater view distance. It allows for, if I'm here on the game, and I'm making a little circle so you guys see, and this whole wide thing is my radius, if I'm this character, it makes me see, I can see all this in high fidelity because all of this is being stored in the RAM. Now let's say this entire table equals the world. You can't really generate this entire world because that makes no sense. If I'm right here, why do I need to generate something back here?
Right.
Makes no purpose. That's what RAM is there for. It's there to generate something in that very moment, that area. So if I'm in this circular area, this is 8 gigs. This is what I'm allowed to see. Anything past that's not even being computed because it doesn't need to be computed.
Right,
There's no purpose for it to be there. Now, this only really ties into good multiplayer games need something like that because that whole world needs to be rendered. People are doing stuff all over this map. It needs to be rendered.
Obviously.
So anything like that, RAM is going to come into play. In gaming, in terms of a system that is also a multimedia system, RAM comes into play with holding the OS, like what Microsoft's doing, but Sony's OS doesn't hold that big of a footprint as much as Microsoft's is. And Sony's being unified, you essentially take that OS out of question when you start playing a game. It's almost as if it turns off the OS altogether. Right. You're now playing a game.
In other words, I don't need to be running the OS while I'm playing the
game.
No,
it's simply put it this way. It's why early in the PlayStation 3's life cycle, you couldn't just press to the home button and play music or look at a picture because you're now accessing the RAM that's used to hold whatever's on here.
Yeah,
that's why you can't do that.
That makes
so
sense.
That's why that's there for. So with this system, of course, you could do that to some extent, but clearly later in the generation, that's going to end because they need that extra RAM to be showing what's on screen right now, what's going on right now. So with 5 gigs versus 8 gigs, it's simply a huge difference. Now, we could say both of them got OSs, but one could use the OS when it needs to, one could choose not to. And with Microsoft, you have no choice with that.
Right.
You have 3 OSs, they take 3 gigs, that's it. And
Yeah,
I'm not even sure if it's a gig each. That actually might take up one of those RAMs.
Clarify to the audience, like we said, Microsoft, they said it is not, what you said, unified, right? Is the term?
Yes.
Yeah, it is not unified. So thus,
it's like dedicated.
The 3 gigs of RAM will always be assigned to the OS.
Like on Windows.
Exactly, just like on Windows, where you need to have your OS running in the background in order to actually.
I think what you basically need to know, and in the end run, is the when you buy an Xbox One and not use it for games, you'll have 5 gigs for games.
Yeah, you'll have 5 gigs. You'll have 5 gigs available for games. That's basically what's happening here. They say that there's 8 gigs in the system because there is.
There is 8 gigs,
but 5 gigs is only going to be what's going to be assigned to your actual gaming.
Yes. So
whereas Sony is different. Because
you could essentially not use all that space.
Right.
It being ununified, where you could just use it anywhere, essentially puts it in just a completely different area.
Yeah.
So I guess almost like for streaming, it almost becomes a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, like using DDR3 doesn't seem plausible if you have a streaming.
That's why they never said that.
Yeah.
That's why at that press conference they never said anything about you're able to record and share this with friends. You can't because they don't got the RAM to do such a thing.
Right.
If you're running the game already and you already got 5 gigs dedicated to the game, you're going to take away more RAM to dedicate it to something else. They need that extra RAM to actually work the OS in general. So they start kind of running into those problems there.
Granted, it's like, fuck, man, I bought a capture card. I don't need it anymore.
You'll still need it for Xbox One games, maybe. But
no, I'm pretty sure it has it's got an HD DVR in it.
Really?
I'm fairly certain about that.
For the Xbox One, I heard at the press conference and afterwards. I heard
don't quote me on that.
I've heard nothing, and I've been literally covering it since they announced it. I've heard nothing about it being able to record any gameplay of anything.
That's what I'm saying. Don't quote me on that.
So maybe,
quite honestly,
maybe
to be honest,
for E3, maybe
me being wrong about this would actually just make me laugh because it's literally like this is something that I assumed that you guys would be here
doing.
A fucking DVR. You know, before these things became popular for games, they were used to record TV shows, right? Isn't that what your fucking console does now?
But even with TV shows, I'm pretty positive you can't record.
Yeah, that's another big thing. That's another big thing I actually wanted to bring up while we were talking about TV. It's like, say you want to actually record a TV show, and you're watching TV with your Xbox, everything's going good. You're just like, oh man, you know, I won't be able to watch this next show that's coming on in about a half an hour or so. Instead of actually saying, hey Xbox, why don't you go ahead and record this for me? You're actually gonna have to go back to your cable box and say, hey cable box, I need you to record this for me.
The function of recording doesn't lie on
in that sense.
Oh, scratch that. It does not provide DVR capabilities. Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah, so in a sense, like what then is the Xbox One really doing for me, other than just saying that, hey, I'm also your cable box now.
Thank you.
Sleeping with your wife.
Well, yeah.
Gosh,
might the whore.
I'll tell you what it does in our next segment.